didn't know a building could remember you. I thought night reception was an easy job. Quiet hours, empty hallways, a desk lamp, and a bell that almost never rang. That's what they tell you when they don't want you asking questions. But there are names you're not supposed to write down, rooms you're not supposed to assign, and places that don't let you leave once they learn your schedule. The Whispering Motel doesn't advertise. It doesn't appear on most maps. And if you ever hear it whisper your name from the hallway at night, it's already too late. This is not a ghost story. This is a record of what happened during my last week working the night shift. And if you're listening to this after midnight, you're exactly the kind of person it's waiting for. The first time the motel whispered to me, it was 2:17 a.m. I remember the time because I just logged it on the incident sheet. Routine, automatic, the kind of muscle memory you develop when nights blur together. October 11th, 2016. Route 9, 40 miles north of the state line. The Whispering Motel sat alone between pine forest and a stretch of highway no one took, unless they were already lost or trying to be. I was the only one awake. That was the job. Night receptionist. Graveyard shift from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., 6 nights a week. I checked in late arrivals, brewed stale coffee no one drank, and watched the security monitors loop the same empty angles of parking lot and hallways. It was quiet work, honest work. And after my divorce, quiet felt like mercy. The whisper didn't come from a guest. It came from behind the front desk. Low, close, almost affectionate. Don't give them the key. I froze, with my pen hovering over the page. The lobby was empty. I could see that clearly. Cheap yellow lights humming overhead. Patterned carpet worn thin from decades of boots and luggage wheels. The mounted fish above the fireplace watching nothing. The coffee machine gurgled. The soda fridge clicked on and off. No one stood behind me. I turned slowly anyway. Nothing. I laughed then, short and nervous, and told myself what every night worker tells themselves sooner or later. Fatigue. Imagination. The brain filling silence with noise. That explanation lasted exactly 12 seconds. Because the bell rang. The front door opened with a groan of old hinges. Then a man stepped inside carrying a single duffel bag. Mid-30s. Unremarkable face. Clean jacket, but not new. The kind of person you'd forget the moment he left the room. Except I didn't. The whisper came again, stronger this time. Not him. My mouth went dry. Evening, the man said. His voice was normal, polite. Tired, got a room. I looked at the computer screen. 32 rooms total. 27 empty. The place was practically begging for business. My fingers didn't move. Behind the desk, beneath the counter, where no speaker or vent existed, the whisper breathed against my ear. He won't stay alone. I swallowed. Just one night? I asked, buying time. He nodded. That's all. I glanced at the monitor without meaning to. Camera 3 covered the west hallway, the one closest to the woods. For a split second, the feed flickered, and for that split second, I saw something standing outside room 14. Tall, thin, facing the door. Then the screen stabilized. Empty hallway. I felt the weight of a decision settle on my chest, heavier than it had any right to be. This wasn't policy. This wasn't instinct. This was something else, something pressing forward from the building itself, like the motel was leaning into me, urging. "I'm sorry," I heard myself say. "We're fully booked tonight." The lie tasted metallic. The man stared at me for a long moment. His expression didn't change, but his eyes did. Something closed behind them. "That's strange," he said quietly. "Your sign says vacancies." "I know," I replied. "It's outdated." Another pause. Then he smiled. "Of course it is." He turned and left without another word. The moment the door shut, the whisper exhaled, long and satisfied. "Thank you." I didn't sleep the next morning. I told myself I'd had a brush with a mentally ill traveler, that my mind had stitched meaning where none existed. I told myself the Whispering Motel was just a name, a marketing gimmick left over from the 1970s when roadside Americana still pretended to be charming. I told myself a lot of things. But later that night, while flipping through the old guest registry, a leather-bound book we kept because the owner liked tradition, I found an entry dated May 3rd, 2004. Same handwriting, same last name. Checked into room 14, no checkout time recorded. Below it, written in red pen by a different hand, guest reported voices coming from the walls. Said the building warned him. Disappeared before sunrise. I closed the book and stared at the lobby, suddenly aware of how old the place really was. Built in 1952, renovated twice, never torn down, never truly updated. The walls were thick, too thick. The kind of thickness that swallowed sound instead of echoing it. At exactly 2:17 a.m., the whisper returned. "This place keeps score." That was the night I understood something important. The Whispering Motel wasn't haunted. It was selective, and it had chosen me to listen. I stayed because I needed the money. Because I didn't believe in leaving when things got uncomfortable. Because a part of me, quiet and ashamed, wanted to know why the building spoke at all. I didn't yet understand the cost of knowing, or how many names the motel had already memorized. By the third night after the whisper warned me about the man with the duffel bag, I stopped pretending the motel was normal. Normal buildings don't learn your schedule. Normal buildings don't breathe differently when you're alone. And they definitely don't change once they realize you're listening. October 14th, 2016, Friday. Rain hammered the roof hard enough to rattle the light fixtures, each drop sounding like fingers tapping to be let in. The highway outside was empty, no headlights, no engines, just darkness swallowing asphalt. Nights like that were supposed to be quiet. They never were anymore. I sat behind the desk with the old registry book open, tracing names with my finger. 47 entries were marked in red ink across 6 decades. Some had notes, most didn't. No checkout times, no police reports attached, just absences. Missing people folded into the motel's history like loose threads pulled tight. At 1:58 a.m., the whisper came early. She's already here. I straightened in my chair. The front door was locked. Policy: after midnight. The parking lot camera showed only rain-slick pavement, reflecting the neon vacancy sign like a wound that wouldn't close. I whispered back before I could stop myself. The building answered by turning on the hallway lights. All of them. One by one, stretching down both wings of the motel. Yellow bulbs flickering awake in sequence like a runway guiding something in. My skin prickled. The owner, Mr. Hargreave, had told me those lights were on timers. Old system. Unreliable. Timers don't activate on command. The bell rang. I stared at the front door, heart hammering, waiting for it to open on its own. It didn't. Instead, the bell rang again, sharper this time, impatient. Someone was standing outside. I unlocked the door with hands that didn't feel like mine. She stepped in dripping rainwater onto the carpet, leaving dark footprints that vanished as soon as I noticed them. Early 20s. Pale. Hoodie too thin for the weather. She clutched a phone in one hand, screen cracked, battery dead. "Please," she said, "I need a room. Just for the night." Her voice shook, but not from cold. Fear recognizes fear. I saw it immediately. The same tightness behind the eyes I'd seen in the mirror every morning since the whisper started. I didn't look at the computer. I looked at the hallway monitor. Room 14's door was open. I hadn't opened it. The whisper curled around my ear, almost tender. She ran. My throat closed. "Are you alone?" I asked. She hesitated, just long enough. "I think so," she said. I felt the motel lean closer, like a held breath. "Do you know where you are?" I asked. "The Whispering Motel," she replied. My GPS rerouted me, said this was the nearest place. No, I thought. It always says that. The building whispered again, lower now. She won't make it back to the road. I stood up. "I can't give you a room," I said. Her face fell. "Please, I'll pay cash. I don't care if it's dirty or it's not safe," I interrupted. The words surprised both of us. Her eyes searched mine. "What do you mean?" I glanced at the monitors. Camera 3 flickered again. That tall shape stood closer now, halfway down the hall, head tilted as if listening. "I mean," I said carefully, This place keeps people. Silence stretched between us. Then, behind her, the doors slammed shut. The locks clicked down on their own. She spun around, panic flaring. What was that? I moved from behind the desk for the first time since starting the job. Listen to me, I said. When I open this door, you run. You don't look back. You don't come back. You don't tell anyone about this place. Her breathing quickened. You're scaring me. I know, I said. That's why you need to go, the whisper screamed. She belongs here. The hallway lights flickered violently now, bulbs bursting one by one with sharp pops. The monitors filled with static. The air thickened, pressing against my lungs. Something knocked on the wall behind the desk. Once, twice, like a polite reminder. I grabbed the key rack and yanked it off the wall, metal clattering across the floor. No keys, I shouted. You don't get keys anymore. The building groaned. I unlocked the front door and shoved it open. Wind and rain surged in, cold and real and alive. Go! I yelled. She didn't hesitate. She ran. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, the whisper turned into a howl, rage vibrating through the walls, shaking dust from the ceiling. The neon sign outside flickered wildly, then went dark. The door slammed shut behind her. The locks reset. Silence followed. Deep, punishing. I stood there, shaking, the taste of iron in my mouth. Minutes passed, maybe more. Finally, the whisper returned. Cold now. You will replace what you take. I quit the next morning, or at least I tried to. Mr. Hargreave didn't answer my calls. The office was locked when I drove there. The motel's number redirected to itself, and when I returned that night to collect my things, the guest registry lay open on the desk. A new name written in red ink. Dated October 14th, 2016. Not hers. Mine, room 14. No checkout time recorded. The whisper spoke softly, almost kindly. You already checked in. October 15, 2016, 2:41 a.m. That was the time stamped next to my name in the registry. I know because I stared at it for a long time, hoping the longer I looked, the less real it would become. Ink doesn't fade when you stare at it. It just settles deeper into the page, like it's proud of itself. I hadn't been there at 2:41 a.m. At least, I didn't remember being there. The motel was supposed to be empty when I came back for my things. I told myself that over and over as I unlocked the office door. Just grab my jacket, my coffee mug, the notebook, where I'd started writing down the whispers. 10 minutes in and out. But the moment I stepped inside, the air felt different. Heavier. Older. Like the building had been waiting. The desk lamp was on, I was certain I'd turned it off when I left. The monitors glowed softly, all 6 feeds active. Every hallway was lit, every door closed, except one. Room 14. The camera angle on that room was wrong, tilted slightly downward, like someone had adjusted it to watch the door more closely. I leaned in, my reflection ghosting across the glass. The door to 14 was shut. I exhaled slowly. "Good," I whispered. "That's good." The whisper answered immediately. "You came back." It wasn't behind me this time. It was inside my head. I staggered back, knocking into the chair. Pain glared up my spine, sharp and grounding. I clung to it, needing something physical, something human. "I don't work here anymore," I said out loud. My voice echoed too much. "I'm just here to get my stuff." The motel responded by printing a receipt. The old dot matrix printer under the desk whirred to life, screaming as it spat out a strip of yellowed paper. I hadn't touched the keyboard. I tore the receipt free with shaking hands. Room 14. Extended stay balance due. Unpaid. "No," I said. "No, no, no." The hallway lights dimmed, then brightened again, like blinking eyes. "You don't leave without settling," the whisper said. I grabbed my jacket from the back room and turned for the door. It didn't open. The handle turned. The lock clicked, but the door stayed closed, wood flexing slightly, as if something on the other side was holding it shut with steady pressure. I pressed my forehead against it, breath fogging the glass. "Please," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. "I don't belong here." The pressure eased. Hope surged. Too fast, too bright. Then the whisper murmured, almost apologetic. Neither did the others. The monitors crackled. One by one, the screens changed. Not static. Footage. Old footage. Black and white images filled the displays. The same lobby decades earlier. Different furniture, different wallpaper. Same desk, same bell. Different people. A man in a 1950s uniform arguing with someone I couldn't see. A woman from the 70s pacing, crying, hands tangled in her hair. A boy no older than 16 slumped against the wall, eyes vacant, lips moving in silent pleas. All of them turned toward the camera at once. Toward me. Their mouths opened. The whisper split into many voices. We tried to leave. The smell hit next. Mildew, old water, something sweet and rotten underneath. The door to the hallway creaked open. Room numbers stretched away into darkness. Too many of them now. More doors than the building should have had. More space than was possible. And there, halfway down, stood the tall shape I'd seen on camera 3. It wasn't a shadow up close. It was a man. Or something that had been one. His face sagged like it had forgotten how to hold itself together. Eyes clouded over, unfocused, but locked directly onto me. His uniform was wrong. Stitched together from different eras, bellhop buttons mixed with janitor patches, soaked through as if he'd walked out of deep water. He took one slow step forward. The whisper dropped to a murmur. He keeps them inside. Another step. They learn. Another. They work. I backed toward the desk, hands searching blindly for something. Anything. My fingers closed around the registry book. I hurled it at him. The book passed straight through his chest and slammed into the wall behind him, pages exploding outward like wounded birds. The names didn't fall. They floated. Red ink lifting off the paper, hanging in the air between us. Dozens, hundreds, some old, some new. All trapped, the man stopped inches from me. Up close, his mouth stretched wider than it should have, skin tearing at the corners. "You're scheduled," he said. His voice was every whisper I'd ever heard layered together. I screamed. The lights went out. When they came back on, I was alone behind the desk, slumped in the chair, heart racing like I'd been running for miles. Morning light crept through the windows. The motel looked normal. Too normal. My jacket lay folded neatly on the counter. Beside it sat a key. Brass. Stamped with the number 14. And taped to it a handwritten note in my own handwriting. Don't trust the exits. I don't remember writing it. But my hand was still cramped like I had October 16th, 2016. I woke up in my apartment convinced I'd dreamed everything. The registry, the man in the hallway, my name written in red like a death certificate. Morning sunlight poured through my windows, warm and forgiving. Traffic hummed outside. My phone buzzed with a notification from my bank. Ordinary life, doing its best to erase the night. I told myself the motel was just a job that had gotten into my head. Then, I found the key in my pocket. Brass, heavy, cold. Room 14. I stood in the middle of my kitchen, staring at it while coffee burned on the stove. The metal left a faint indentation in my palm, like it was reminding me it still existed. I didn't go to the police. How do you explain a building that claims you? Instead, I searched. County records, old newspapers, archived maps. I took the day off work, my real work, and sat at my computer until my eyes burned. The Whispering Motel didn't appear in any zoning database before 1951. Before that, the land was listed as undeveloped. That was a lie. A 1947 local paper mentioned a temporary lodging structure built to house rail workers during a tunnel expansion. No name, no address, just a photograph. The photograph showed the motel. Same shape, same layout, same impossible number of rooms. The caption listed an accident. 12 workers unaccounted for after tunnel collapse. No bodies recovered. The article ended abruptly, like it had been cut short. That night, the whisper returned. Not in my apartment. On my phone. I was brushing my teeth when my screen lit up. An incoming call from a number I didn't recognize. The caller ID read, "Front desk." I didn't answer. The voicemail came seconds later. Static at first, then breathing, then my voice. "I'm on my way," it said. I dropped the phone into the sink. Water didn't stop the whisper. It followed me through the night, through the walls, through the dreams. I dreamed of hallways stretching and folding, of doors opening inward forever, of people knocking softly from the inside of rooms, begging not to be forgotten. When I woke up, my shoes were muddy. I don't remember leaving my apartment. I drove to the motel at dawn, anger burning hotter than fear. I needed answers. I needed proof that I wasn't losing my mind. The building waited for me, unchanged, sitting beside the highway like it always had, except the vacancy sign was off. The parking lot was full. Cars from different decades sat side by side. Rusted sedans, modern compacts, one with luggage still strapped to the roof, dust thick enough to write names in. All the doors were closed, all the curtains drawn. I stepped inside. The bell rang. The whisper sighed in relief. You came back to work. Behind the desk, the chair was warm. The logbook lay open. Today's date was already filled in. And next to the front door, hanging on the wall like it had always been there, was an employee schedule. My name highlighted in yellow. Night receptionist. Shift start, 10 p.m. Shift end. I turned to leave. The door wouldn't open. The whisper pressed close. Intimate, inevitable. You don't leave. It said, you transfer. The hallway lights flickered on. Room 14's door opened slowly, and from inside, someone whispered my name, the way you whisper to wake someone without alerting the others. October 16th, 2016, 9:57 p.m., 3 minutes before my shift started. I stood behind the front desk because there was nowhere else to stand. The motel had changed again. Not dramatically. Nothing so obvious that it would make it easy. It was subtler than that. The air felt rehearsed, like a stage set waiting for its cue. The lights glowed warmer. The bell sat perfectly centered. Even the cracks in the walls looked intentional, as if they'd been placed there on purpose. The building wasn't just alive, it was prepared. I tried the front door one last time, turned the handle, pulled until my shoulders screamed. Nothing. Behind me, the clock above the desk ticked louder than it should have. 9:58. I whispered, "You can't keep me." The motel replied by straightening the guest pamphlets. 9:59. The whisper slid through me like cold breath across bare skin. You already agreed. I never said yes. I snapped. The whisper paused. Then, you stayed. 10 p.m. The lights dimmed. and returned, softer now, gentler. The bell rang once on its own. My shift had begun. The first guest arrived at 10:07. I know because the clock marked it precisely, the second hand snapping into place like a judge's gavel. He was already standing at the desk when I looked up. I hadn't heard the door open. Middle-aged, business suit out of style by at least a decade. Hair neatly combed, tie straight, shoes polished but cracked with age. He smelled faintly of dust and aftershave. "I need a room," he said calmly. I swallowed. "Do you have a reservation?" He smiled. "Everyone here does." The computer screen flickered on. Room 9. Occupied room 10. Occupied room 11. Occupied every room filled. Except one. Room 14. Available? No, I whispered. The whisper corrected me. Yes. The man placed a key on the counter. Not a credit card. A key. Room 9. "I checked in yesterday," he said. "But I can't remember where my room is." That wasn't true. I could see it in his eyes. He remembered everything. He just couldn't leave. I slid the key back toward him. "You're already checked in." His smile twitched. "Am I?" Behind him, the hallway lights flickered, and doors began to open a fraction of an inch. I heard breathing, murmurs, fingernails scraping wood from the inside. The whisper leaned in close. "Do your job." I picked up the key. My hand shook as I pointed down the hall. Room 9. First floor, left wing. Relief flooded his face. Too much relief for something so small. "Thank you," he said. He walked away. I watched him disappear into the hallway. Watched room 9's door open wider than it should have. Watched it close behind him. The door did not open again. At 10:23, a family arrived. Mother, father, young daughter clutching a stuffed rabbit, missing one eye. They looked soaked, exhausted, desperate. "We just need one night," the mother said. "Our car broke down." I didn't ask questions. The motel already knew the answers. I felt sick as I handed them a key to room 12. The daughter looked back at me as they walked away. Her lips moved. "Help us," the whisper roared. "You don't help," it said. "You assign." By midnight, every room was occupied. By 12:30, the sounds began, crying through the walls. Shouting muffled by distance that didn't make sense. A door slamming over and over again from a hallway that wasn't on any map. At 1:14 a.m., the man from room 9 came back. Or what was left of him did. His suit hung wrong now, stretched like it had been worn by someone taller. His eyes were milky, unfocused. His mouth opened and closed, working at words that wouldn't come out right. "I forgot," he croaked. "I forgot why I stayed." The whisper answered through him. "Because it was easier." He lunged across the desk. I fell backward. crashing into the chair. The lights exploded overhead, glass raining down like sharp snow. The man convulsed, body jerking violently, then collapsed to the floor. He didn't get up. The hallway doors slammed shut all at once. Silence followed. The whisper softened. "You're learning." I crawled back behind the desk, shaking, blood trickling down my arm from a cut I didn't remember getting. The registry book lay open. New names were writing themselves in red. At 3 a.m., the whisper finally told me the truth. Not all of it, just enough. "This place isn't a trap," it said. "It's a filter." "For what?" I whispered. "For people who stay." I thought of the highway, the rerouted GPS, the ones who could have driven on but didn't. What happens when there's no one left to check them in? I asked. The whisper hesitated. That was worse than any answer. Then it said, "Then someone takes your room." Room 14's key slid across the desk by itself. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Outside, something knocked on the motel door. Once, twice, like a polite reminder. Thanks for listening. My story, sleep well. Good night.